Hey, everybody. Because I say versus capitalism.
Man, I hate when that happens. Rub my eyes. Okay.
Let's see.
Just be a little me. Okay. Well, I put the thing on as the real deal for the theory. And sorry. Well, just playing with the toys in the stream. Man, I hate when that happens. Oh. Well, it's going to be a real bummer trying to talk by myself, but oh well. Okay. Yeah. Nobody's here. I'm just I'm a wee little lonesome. Okay. Hey, my cats leave me alone. Awesome. Sorry, just had some carrots. Kind of want to shove something in my face, but yeah. Theory's got to change. The way we do theory's got to change a lot. Because right now, we are, dang it, yucky, sorry about that. But yeah, I know that just drives everybody wild talking about dead Russian guys and dead guys who've been dead for 150 years plus. Yeah, that's not getting us anywhere. It's definitely not getting us anywhere at all. Mainly because the reading level, I think, is too high for most people. And it's not because of intelligence. I don't wish to talk about it like that at all. It has nothing to do with that in any way whatsoever. It has to do with the fact that most people aren't, because of our education system, at least in America anyway, aren't trained to read at a higher level than what I was reading, something like 8th grade or something like that. And I mean, 1 second. Let's see here. One moment. Sorry. Had a technical difficulty. Well, actually had a catical difficulty. My cat demanded attention. So if I don't, well, I get lots of meows. Okay, where was I? Okay, here's the deal. Theory is great, and I think we should be reading theory. But the problem is that theory is far. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you look at I do believe it's mutually. They go on about the French communists and people getting together there and all that. And who knows about that? I'm a history buff, and I didn't even know about it.
Skype. Yep. Would help if I had the microphone pointed in the right spot. Hey, nobody's perfect. But yeah, I mean, I've tried reading that stuff. And 1 second. Man, I hate when I forget to put my eyeglasses on. I mean, the ones that let me look at the screen. Oh, that's better. Excuse me. Okay. I mean, I love my history buff. I love history. You know, I love reading stuff like that. I love finding out about the stuff that I didn't know before in history. And it's amazing. Darn it. Sorry about that. Happens when you're on dialysis. But, you know, where was I? Okay. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that we are trying to get people, hey, read this really long book of people that have been dead for 150 plus years that you have no clue about what all the history behind it means. That just, we need to make it more relatable. I mean, yes, we do need due praxis, and there are people out there doing it, and I think that's wonderful, and that's necessary. But, man, am I having issues? Oh, sorry, I just accidentally read what was on the stream yard ducky thing. And yeah, it's why the message doesn't get out. I mean, if you have to have 4 pages for your message when a conservative can go, the wall, build the wall, you know, or something just as, you know, ridiculous, you know, that's the problem, is our message is too long and it's not complicated. You're getting screwed over. The people of money are screwing you over badly. Sorry. And it's just that simple. It's they're screwing over badly, and there's better ways to do things, and there's better ways to make sure people get what they need than, you know, hopes and prayers. You know? Sorry. Got it itchy, doing the old man itchy thing. I mean, I could probably just start reading the matter of fact, give me a second. I mean, this is just, I mean, let's give you, I'm just going to read off. Sorry. I literally pulled up Peter Kropotkin's Mutual Aid. I'm just going to read like a paragraph here. Introduction. 2 aspects of animal life impressed me the most during my journeys, and which I made in my youth to eastern Siberia and northern Manchuria. One of them was the extreme severity of the struggle of the existence of most species of animals have to carry on against the inclement nature. The enormous destruction of life, which periodically results from natural agencies, and the subsequent paucity of life. I mean, I'm gonna have to look that word up. I mean, that's just what we're dealing with here. Let's see, define paucity. The presence of something only small or insufficient quantities, scarcity. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what that word meant, and I got a huge vocabulary. This is what I'm talking about. And let's see here. Of the vast territory which fell under my observation. And the other was that even in those few spots where animal life teemed in abundance, I failed to find, although I was eagerly looking for it, and that bitter struggle for the means of existence among animals belonging to the same species, which, considered by most Darwinists, although not Darwin himself, is the dominant characteristic struggle of life and the main factor of evolution. I mean, like, who speaks like that? I mean, I could keep on reading it. Heck, I'm going to keep on reading it. Why not? I mean, come on. It's a live stream. I'm crazy. What the heck? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep on reading this. The terrible snowstorms which sweep over the northern portions of Eurasia in the latter part of the winter, and the glazed frost that often follows them, the frosts and the snowstorms which return every year in the second half of May, when the trees are already in full blossom and insect life swarms everywhere. The early frosts and occasional heavy snowfalls in July and August, which usually destroy a myriad of insects, as well as the second broods of birds and prairies, and torrential rains due to the monsoons, which fall in more temperate regions in August and September, resulting in finally the heavy snowfalls in early October, which eventually render a territory as large as France and Germany absolutely impractical for ruminants. Ruminants, let's look up that word, because guess what? We got to look up that word too. A ruminant, an even-toed ungulate mammal that chews cud regurgitated from its rumen. Rumens comprise of cattle, sheep, antelope, deer, giraffes, their relatives, and some politicians. I was joking about that last one, but you get the general idea. Okay. And then we'll go on here. Let's see here. And destroy them by the thousand. These were the conditions which I saw animal life struggling in northern Asia. They made me realize an early date between the overwhelming importance of nature, what Darwin described, the natural checks to over multiplication, and the comparison to the struggle between individuals of the same species for the means of subsistence, which may not go here and there, but to some limited extent, but never attains the importance of the former. The paucity of life, remember that, because that's the rarity, scarcity, underpopulation, not overpopulation, being the distinctive feature of that immense part of the globe which we name Northern Asia. I conceived since then serious doubts, which subsequent study has only confirmed, as to the reality of that fearful competition for food and life within each species, which was an article of faith with most Darwinists, and consequently to the dominant part of this sort of competition, which was supposed to play in the evolution of new species. On the other hand, wherever I saw animal life in abundance, as for instance on the lakes and scores of species and millions of individuals came together to rear their progeny. In the colonies of rodents and the migrations of birds, which took place that time on a truly American scale along the Usuri, and especially let's look up the Usuri, because it's a river. It's got two S's. They only had one S. They misspelled it in the book. Let's see here. Where is it? Okay, so it's like way. Yeah, if you're in, it's like it comes out almost near like North Korea, and like I think it's the border between China and like Siberia. So like it's USSURI. I did not know that. Well, got to learn something else today too. And especially the migration of fallow deer, which I witnessed on the Amur. Let's look up that too, because I want to know where all these things are, because it doesn't make any sense to. Oh, that's not that. Well, it's not that far away, and it's a river in Mongolia. Let's see here. Now, on the other hand, okay. And finally, I saw the semi-wild cattle, horses in the Transbalkia, among the wild ruminants everywhere, the squirrels and so on. That when animals have to struggle against the scarcity of food and consequence of the one above mentioned causes, the whole of that portion of the species which is affected by the calamity comes out of the ordeal much impoverished in vigor and health, and that no progressive evolution of the species can be based upon such periods of keen competition. That's kind of looks like that's in italics, so that's apparently very important. What a shock. I.e., competition isn't all that great. Consequently, when my attention was drawn later on to the relation between Darwinism and sociology, I could agree with none of the works and pamphlets that had been written on this important subject. They all endeavored to prove that man, owing his higher intelligence and knowledge, may mitigate the harsh struggle harshness of the struggle for life between men. But they all recognize the same time that the struggle for the means of existence of every animal against its congenier. Let's see here. I'm going to look up that word too. Because a thing or person of the same kind as another. Oh. Okay. Didn't know that one. Let's see here. And every man against other men was the law of nature, in quotations. This view, however, I could not accept, because I was persuaded to admit that the pitiless inner war of life within each species, and to see the war, see in that war a condition of progress, was to admit something in which I had not only not yet been proven, but also lacked confirmation from direct observation. On the contrary, the lecture on the law of mutual aid, which was delivered at a Russian Congress of Naturalists in January of 1880 by the well-known zoologist Professor Kessler, then dean of the St. Petersburg University, struck me as throwing a new light on the whole subject. Kessler's idea was that besides the law of mutual struggle, there is nature's law of mutual aid, which success of the struggle for life, and especially for the progressive evolution of species, is far more important than the law of mutual contest. This suggestion, which was in reality nothing but a further development of the ideas expressed by Darwin himself in The Descent of Man, seemed to me to correct and of so great importance that I became acquainted with it in 1883 and began to collect materials for further development of the idea, which Kessler had only cursorily sketched in his lecture but had not lived to develop. He died in 1881. In only one in one point only, I could not endorse Kessler's views. He alluded to the parental feeling care for progeny, see below chapter 1, as to the mutual inclinations in animals. However, to determine how far these two feelings have really been at work in the evolution of sociable instincts, and how others instincts have been at work in the same direction, seems to me quite a distinct and very wide question, which we can hardly discuss yet. It will be only after we have well established the facts of mutual aid in different classes of animals and their importance for evolution that we shall be able to study what belongs in the evolution of sociable beings to parental feelings and to what sociability proper, the latter having evidently its origin in the earliest stages of evolution of the animal world, perhaps even at the colony stages, in quotations. I consequently directed my chief attention to the establishing, first of all, the importance of mutual aid factor of evolution, leaving the ulterior research to the task of discovering the origin of mutual aid instinct in nature. Okay. Now, yeah, I read a whole bunch of stuff. Now, that sounds like something you could easily pull off reading, right? I mean, anybody down, like Bob down the street's going to read that. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It needs to be. I don't want to say it needs to be dumbed down. I don't think that needs to be the case. I think it has nothing to do with intelligence. It just needs to be put in a more simple and concrete way of looking at things. Not for someone to figure it out, but for someone to not have to sit there and pour through an entire book that, let's be honest, it's going to take most people forever to read that thing. And if we sat down and just cut it down and went, look, this is what happens. This is why this works. This is why this is better. Not, well, we should talk about the animal world. I mean, I understand why they're doing that. It makes sense. You want to have an establishment of facts and where you get it from. And you should do that. But I just simply don't get why we have to put it at a reading level that just... Most people, I mean, I was struggling reading that. And I got a pretty high reading level, and I was struggling reading that. And it still goes on, too. Like, the importance of mutual... Type. The importance of mutual aid factor, if its generality could only be demonstrated, it did not escape the naturalist genius to manifest in Goethe, which that's a German person. Excuse me. When Eckert told once to Goethe, it was in 1827 that two little wren fledglings had run away from him, but were found the next day in the nest of robin breasts, which fed the little ones, and together with their own youngsters. Goethe grew quite excited at this fact. He sought his confirmation of pantheistic views. He said that if it is true that this feeding of a stranger goes through nature as something having the character of a general law, then it may be an enigma that would be solved. He returned to this matter on the next day and most earnestly entreated. So yeah, most earnestly entreated. Okay. Like nobody talks like that. Most earnestly entreated. Let's look up entreated. Okay. To ask someone earnestly or anxiously to do something. Yeah, I mean, like nobody talks like that. Nobody. I don't know if anybody says, "Well, I most earnestly entreated my friend upon this great mission." No, you don't talk like that. And then Eckerman, who is a zoologist, that's like people who study edibles, as my wife would say, to make a special study of the subject, adding that he would surely come to a quite invaluable treasures of the results. Again, who talks like that? Unfortunately, this study was never made, although it's very possible that Brehm, who has accumulated his works, such rich materials relative to mutual aid among animals, might have been inspired by Goethe's remark. Several works were published in the years of 1872 to 1886, dealing with the intelligence and mental life of animals. They are mentioned in a footnote in chapter 1 of this book. Three of them dealt more specifically under the subject under consideration, namely the Societies Animales, animal societies, Espinus, Paris, 1877, La lutte pour l'existence, l'association pour la lutte, I guess, and my French is bad. The struggle for the existence of the struggle and the association, the struggle for existence and the association for the struggle. A lecture by J.L. Lenison, 1881. And Louis Buchner, book, Lieb und Lebensleben in der Tierwelt, love and love life in the animal world, which first edition appeared in 1882 or 1883, and a second much enlarged in 1887. But excellent though these works is, they leave ample room for work which mutual aid would be considered not only an argument in favor of a pre-human origin of moral instincts, but also law of nature and evolution, factor in evolution. Espinus devoted his main attention to such animal societies, ants and bees, which are established upon physical division of labor, although his work is admirably hints in all possible directions. Basically, they're talking about the fact that animals work together. They aren't just all "I've got mine, screw you" attitude. They can't, especially like ants and bees. They have to work together. They work together implicitly without even thinking about it because their instincts tell them to do that. Let's see, where was I? I am lost. Oh, and established upon human societies that could not yet be treated with knowledge that we now possess. Lenison's lecture has more character of a brilliant laid out general plan of a work in which mutual support would be dealt with, beginning with rocks in the sea and then passing in review the world of plants and of animals and men. And as to Buchner's work, suggested though, and it's in although it is 1 second. Back again. Okay. I could not agree with this leading idea. The book begins with a hymn to love and nearly illustrates illustrations are intended to prove its existence of love and sympathy among animals. However, to reduce animal sociability to love and sympathy means to reduce its generality and importance, such as human ethics based on love and personal sympathy, have only contributed to the narrow comprehension of the moral feeling as a whole. It is not love to my neighbor, whom I do not know, which induces me to seize a pail of water to rush towards his house when I see it on fire. It is a far wider, even though more vague feeling of instinctive human solidarity and sociability which moves me. In other words, it's not that I love somebody, it's the fact that if we don't bond together, we're going to be kind of screwed in this world here. And I like that idea. I think that's pretty smart. And, oh man, got the back itches. They are definitely driving me nuts. Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's simple. I mean, it's not really that hard. Let's see here. And I'm lost again. Let's see here. So it is also with animals. It is not love, not even sympathy. Not really. Understood in its proper sense, which induces a herd of ruminants of horses to form a ring in order to resist attack of wolves. Not love, which induces wolves to form a pack for hunting. Not love, which induces kittens or lambs to play, or a dozen species of birds to spend their days together in autumn. And neither is love nor personal sympathy that induces 1,000 fallow deer scattered over a territory as large as France to form a score of separate herds, all marching towards a given spot in order to cross there a river. It's a feeling infinitely wider than love or personal sympathy. It's an instinct that has been slowly developed among animals and men in the course of extremely long evolution, which has taught animals and men alike the force they can borrow from the practice of mutual aid and support and the joys they can find in social life. Yeah, in other words, we evolved like this because it works out and it helps. Because if it didn't, we wouldn't have evolved that way. And that's what I'm talking about, you know? Oh, well. But yeah. Oh, shoot. I forgot to what's the name that I was, let's see here. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's see here. I can't find that person that said they wanted me to contact him. Oh, I know. I could be a smart, brainy person. I think it's... Where's the... There he is. Ah, that's not what I wanted. Come on. Trying to contact somebody. Somebody here. Well, yeah, I mean, that's all that stuff's like, I mean, how many words? I mean, there's only a couple words there, but I'm sure I could find more. Let's see here. How many other for succeeded? That's fine. That's a word people would use. Trying to find words here that just F.A. Giddings. That's a name. I like that. F.A. Giddings. I mean, but it's just, and it's incredibly long, and it's not that I'm complaining. It's just, it seems in this day and age of tweets and Twitter and quote, what's his name? Facey Space and Twitty pages. Yeah, this is just nuts. And I mean, practically, it's just not that hard. You go out and just help people. And like, here's a quote: "The weakest and the stupidest went to the wall, while the toughest and the shrewdest, those who were best fitted to cope with the circumstances, but not in the best way, survived. Life was continuous free fight. Beyond the limited temporary relations of the family, the Hobbesian war of each against all was a normal state of existence." I mean, and they mentioned Rousseau, which he's been dead for a long time, and I'm sure most people don't know who he is either. I mean, I could just read this whole thing. But yeah, I mean, that's been my biggest problem there right now. It's just like, I mean, I can read it, but when you say, hey, you want to get into this? Oh, by the way, it's a bunch of old dead Russian dudes. Yeah. Man, I'm amazed I'm actually doing it this long. I don't know. I'm just getting real tired. Oh, that's what happens when you're on dialysis. I just it's not that I can't get through it. I can get through it. Not easy, but I can get through it. But I don't know. Maybe because I think I'm kind of using this just to talk out my thoughts. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and read this again. And then I'm going to try to like summarize it or something, or because like this is just a lot. And no, I'm not yawning because it's boring or anything. It's just yawning because it's like tired. Oh. Oh. I don't think I'm in more energy. So they said, excuse me, I said what I wanted to anyway. In a nutshell. And yeah, I think maybe that's something to do. I'm just trying to summarize it, cut it down a bit, make it more manageable, put it in more of regular everyday speak, because it needs to change, because it's just too tough for most people. Most people would not get into that. It's a ton of stuff to read, you know. But I'm sorry. I should stop because I'm yawning and I'm not going to stop yawning. Be careful out there, everybody, and have a good week.